All right, so today I'm gonna talk about my methodology. It's a method that I've used in one of my latest works last semester. It was for sculpture. The works that I've made before that were very interesting processes, but this was a new method that I was using. It was a new method that I found, uh, working through the process. So I had a very different idea at the start, and I just had different concepts that I would maybe want to get into, and then I found this method. So it's what I'm gonna explain now. The method that I used started off as like a concept, so I think it's uh, for me interesting to explore a concept or an idea first before starting to execute it or think about all the materials that you're gonna use and stuff. It is not a method that I've used very often before this, um, and I do believe that you cannot exclude one or the other in the sense of um, getting motivated a with an idea, or you have an idea and you get motivated uh, with exploring a material, so it can be intertwined, like already having the idea in your head and then finding a material and then choosing to proceed with your process. But so that's what I was doing, and in my sense I kind of found my concept, which was I was actually looking for balance and looking to just give myself some rest and peace, because I was very, very unhealthy and trying to do as much school as possible. And I was just looking for some rest and some peace. And then I started going to the Lek, it's a river close to my home. And that's where I really found that peace. And with that peace also came like a clear mind. And this gave me the opportunity to actually um, hear my own thoughts and have them clear inside of my head, which also gave me the idea for the sculpture. When I was at the river, there were a lot of rocks laying around. So I very naturally, when I got there, I was really exploring everything around me and um, taking it into me. And the rocks really stood out to me because I thought it was interesting that in the first place I didn't really look at them, but when you start to look up close, then you find these very specific, interesting ones that have structure, or that specifically were like speaking to me, you know? So I started interacting with them and taking them, building with them, leaving the structures that I've made right there. And then after that, um, yeah, I started collecting them and taking them home. So this was my resourcing step, is I guess the second step. After resourcing them, I kept on building with them and kept on thinking about what would be a way to present this emotion or this balance that I've actually found inside of myself. So some personal message that I wanted to visualize. And I think there were a few elements, but one of them was that it didn't have to have any shape or form. It shouldn't have any rules, because I try to stay away from rules with this work. And I think it can help to set boundaries. So inside of those boundaries, you can be way more free, and it's kind of freeing. But in this case, I think my boundaries were like only at that place, and try to keep all the resources at that place. So I had already decided that I wanted to have like all these rocks, and it didn't have to be all of them, but all of these rocks that I resourced, I wanted to present them in a specific way, but all together, and it didn't matter if they were like stacked on top of each other, like, or if they would all be laying down, you know. I decided to make a little bowl display type thing, which would be suitable to present the rocks in, and also the shape would be able to catch some water, so that I could also take the original water from the river, and yeah, keep that essence in it as well, because of the nuance in the work was also how wetting the stones would also give them a different appearance. So I wanted to, take that with it as well. Um, so I made the bow, and in the process of making the bow, carving it out, doing something that I would normally not do, and it was keeping things rough, not thinking about practical, but thinking about conceptual and theoretical. Like, why do I want to polish it? Why do I want to sand it up to smoothness? And it is because it's practical, because I wanted to give it a final coating of lacquer. But so I decided that I wasn't gonna do it, and I was gonna see how it would react if I were to lacquer it, if it was still rough in some parts. And it was a very, it was a struggle to be able to make it waterproof, and not be able to sand it properly in between lacquer coats. But I'm very proud of myself that I did do that, because now I can argument why I would make it smooth, and know for myself what are the pros and cons of making specific decisions, also material wise, So, um, so that was a big part. And then at the end, it was just for me about in the moment that I was building up this sculpture, it was where I felt it to be, and I tried to keep in mind, like, keep a light head. It doesn't have any shape or form. It doesn't have to look a specific way, because the energy is already in it. Um, so the way I finished it was just building it up the way I felt it at that moment, and I think that is the method that I want to keep on trying to do. Work with materials as they are, and not in the first place try to manipulate materials, but just first see what are the resources that I already have available to me. And as a last thing, don't resist the process, don't resist failure. um, Keep an open mind to what might happen. And last but not least, very important, is things don't have to be finished. I will always keep having all these ideas, and they will keep coming. And even if I've had like a phase where I've already presented my work, that doesn't mean that I cannot move on with it and have different concepts or different ideas about it that I like to further develop, because I can just do that afterwards. That is fine. So those are very important to me with this process, and this is a newfound methodology for me. So yeah, thanks. Bye.